preview, baby. Game 1 of the series tonight in about a half hour. We're underway. Kodai Senga is taking the mound for the Mets, and he will be facing Jack Flaherty and the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1 out of probably, I'd say, a 7 game. I think this is going to go the full 7 games. Mets, Dodgers. It's going to be a good one, man. It is definitely going to be a good one. You got to be pumped for it. You look at the numbers. One, there's a lot of guys that you like in the Mets lineup against Jack Flaherty. First off, Francisco Lindor, I'm not going to start off with him. I'm going to start off with Jesse Winker. But Francisco Lindor, he's 0 for 4 in his career versus Jack Flaherty. He hasn't really had a big sample size. But the reason you like Lindor headed into this series, at least the reason I like Lindor, is because I think he's the most locked in he's ever been in his entire career, even when he was with Cleveland in the World Series. Yes, I think he's that locked in right now. I mean, you saw it when he hit the home run against Atlanta to send us to the playoffs, no celebration. You see it when he hits the grand slam against Philadelphia to send us here to the NLCS. I think Lindor is more locked in than ever before. Shout out Nick, man. Nick Columbia, man. He was at game, I think he was at game 4 when Lindor hit that grand slam. So shout out to Nick. Stadium was for sure rocking then. Huge Mets fan. Make sure you go check out his music as well. He's on Apple Music, I believe Spotify as well. So make sure you go check him out all over. But yeah, shout out to Nick. Shout out to that Mets stadium, well, Citi Field. That whole entire stadium of Mets fans was rocking, as Lindor likes to call it, Mets Nation. Mets Nation will be rocking tonight away. I don't think any Mets fans should be in LA because apparently the Dodgers, they do not have a friendly environment, especially for home teams. But it's going to have to be a friendly environment because the New York Mets are going to have to make it one at least. Or either they're going to make it a friendly environment or a dangerous environment, because I think the Mets take game 1 tonight. I think we lose game 2 tomorrow. But I don't know. Something about game 1s with the Mets, they do it. They do it since at least I've been alive. I've seen them take a lot of game 1s in playoff series. So I don't think Dodgers fans have something against Mets fans. I think it's more you just see, like, sometimes, I mean, they were throwing this, against the Padres, throwing shit at Fernando Tatis. Excuse my French there, but, Dodgers fans get rowdy. They do get rowdy. That's all I'll say there. But you do got to like the matchups for the Mets because you look at their lineup tonight. You got Lindor, like I said, more locked in than ever before. Mark Vientos, who's been having a great postseason. He's got 4 home runs. He's hitting over 400 in this postseason. So shout out to Vientos there, second-year player. Brandon Nimmo in left, batting third. Pete Alonso, slugging first baseman, batting in the cleanup spot, who's been having a terrific postseason as well with an over 1,000 OPS, 3 opposite field home runs, 6 RBIs, and then 273 batting average so far in the postseason. Starlin Marte's batting 5th and right. Jesse Winker, who's got over a 380 batting average throughout his career against Jack Flaherty. So he's batting in the 6th hole tonight as the DH. Jose Iglesias at second instead of Jeff McNeil, who's back on the roster, but he's going to be on the bench tonight. Tyrone Taylor in center, the defensive standout, and then Francisco Alvarez behind the dish, who we definitely need to get going. And then for the Dodgers, they got Shohei Ohtani leading off, the 50-50 guy, but he's been struggling this postseason. Maybe he wakes up against the Mets, but I hope not. Mookie Betts in right field. He's always been a low postseason performer, so got to keep an eye out for him. And then Freddie Freeman, the Mets killer, who's playing with a little bit of an ankle injury right now. So keep an eye out for him because if he doesn't tear apart the Mets, that's huge for the Mets. Obviously, you don't wish him, to have an injury, but at the same time, that injury is helping out the Mets right now. So keep an eye on that for sure. Teoscar Hernandez, who saved the Dodgers season just a game ago. He's batting in the cleanup spot in left field. Will Smith behind the dish. Max Muncy, who's still got some pop at third. Kike Hernandez, who had a nice home run the other night, too, for the Dodgers. He went off in center. Gavin Lux at second. And then Edman at short. So it's going to be, I'd say you got to get to the bullpen if you're the Mets. You got to get to the bullpen. Jack Flaherty's not somebody I'm too scared of. I mean, in 5.1 innings of work against the San Diego Padres, they lost 10-2 that game he pitched, and that's because he let up 4 earned runs. He let up 2 home runs in that game as well. He let up 4 hits combined. 2 of them were home runs. So You got to like where the Mets are at because they're hot right now. They're riding hot. They had their 3-day break. Kodai Senga, whatever he gives you, I'm confident in Senga. Outside of one bad pitch in game 1 in the NLDS against Philadelphia, Senga looked really good. So he is the guy, I think, the best matchup for this type of lineup because we got 2 stud lefties in Freddie Freeman and Ohtani, obviously, that we got to worry about. So Manaea tomorrow, I'm going to love. I love that matchup for us. I mean, it was a lefty-heavy lineup just against the Philadelphia Phillies. And Manaea and David Peterson, who we're also going to get into, he's going to be important maybe this game. They're going to be important in this series. But in game 1, I do like the matchup, the righty-lefty matchup for Senga. Because Kodai, he's a complete pitcher. We all know what he did last year. He was 12-7, 2.98 ERA, over 200 strikeouts in the first year of his career with the Mets. This year, only one game. And then his second game, game 1 of the NLDS against the Philadelphia Phillies. And like I said before, outside of one bad pitch, Senga looked great. Going after guys like Nick Castellanos, obviously stayed away from Bryce Harper. But you kind of like that. Smart. And obviously it paid off. Peterson comes in and then gets the job done. So I think that's what we're going to see tonight. I would say we're going to see Tyler McGill over Jose Butto like we saw last time. But I could see David Peterson going probably 4 or 5 innings for the Mets tonight. Senga going 2 or 3, and that would be ideal. And the Mets, I'd say if they can score early, put a run on the board early, that'd be huge. Especially you want to silence that Los Angeles Dodgers crowd. So that's what I'm looking for the Mets. I mean, and like I said before, you got guys in that lineup like Jesse Winker who they had success off of Jack Flaherty. Winker versus Jack Flaherty in his entire career. In 24 plate appearances, he's batting .381, an .810 slugging percentage, an OPS of 1.268. He's got 2 RBIs and 2 home runs off Jack Flaherty, so 2 solo shots off Jack Flaherty. So that's the guy you got to be looking for. And then obviously Winker, that left-hander against righties, he kills righties. That's his MO. That's why he's in the lineup tonight. McNeil out of the lineup, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do get him in a pinch-hitting spot. I mean, he was good with runners in scoring position this season, especially in the second half. So say what you want about McNeil, but if there's a tough spot and you like that matchup, that lefty-righty matchup for McNeil, I think you got to throw him in there. You definitely got to throw him in there, especially with the way Jose Iglesias has been struggling. I think we got to keep an eye out on that. But other than that, I do like the Mets lineup. I think it's smart keeping Tyrone Taylor in there, especially in the LA ballpark. We know that outfield is pretty big. So Tyrone Taylor in center, I do like that, keeping him in there. Mark Vientos batting second. I do like that. I love it. I've loved Vientos in the 2-hole all season long. Nimmo batting third. I think that's smart. Lefty-righty matchup. You're going lefty-righty, lefty-righty. That's something that the Mets have kind of struggled to do because we lack left-handers. But now with McNeil back, that's going to provide an extra left-handed bat. So that's something that's going to help the Mets there. But also, it's giving you the ability to go lefty-righty today. Obviously, the only righty-righty backup is Alonso to Marte, it looks like, and then Tyrone Taylor to Alvarez. But outside of that, Mendoza did a pretty good job in finding that wiggle room there to get those matchups down. So good for Mendoza there. He's been a great manager all year. And Vientos, like I said, man, he and Lindor too, and Alonso. We got 3 guys playing their best baseball of their entire year, their entire years right now. So Lindor's playing great in this postseason. He's got 7 hits across 7 games, OPS of 863. He's got obviously the grand slam is his only home run, but 6 RBIs and 6 runs scored in those 7 postseason games so far. Pete's been great, stepped it up big time. 7 games, 6 hits, 273 batting average, 1.160 OPS in the postseason right now. 3 opposite field home runs and 6 RBIs. Mark Vientos, arguably the best hitter in the Mets lineup right now this playoffs. 7 games, 12 hits in those 7 games, 429 batting average, 1.181 OPS. That 467 on-base percentage is insane. And then 2 home runs, 7 RBIs in 7 games, and then 5 runs scored. And then, Jesse Winker has had success in the postseason so far, 1.240 OPS, a big home run against Philly as well. So Winker, yeah, you got to like the matchup there against him and Flaherty. So he's a guy with high energy, and I think the Mets are locked in right now. So I wouldn't be worried about the Mets lineup scoring runs today. I think whether they get to Flaherty early or they're going to get to the bullpen, no matter, they're going to do something. The Mets, you got to be confident in them putting up at least 3 to 5 runs tonight. The question is the pitching. What do you get out of them? What do you get out of Kodai Senga? What do you get out of the bullpen? What do you get out of David Peterson if you go to him? Because David Peterson, he was great against Philly, but Ohtani, Freeman, Betts, like those are 3 scary guys. I fear those guys more than I fear Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. I mean, Bryce Harper is scary. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely Ohtani and then Bryce if we're going Dodgers, Phillies combined. But the Dodgers' top 3 hitters, I would say, are definitely more fearful than the Phillies' top 3 hitters for sure. So, especially when you got Ohtani leading off, dude. You got Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Kike Hernandez, Gavin Lux, and Edman. Like, that's a fearful lineup. Definitely for sure. And you got 3 guys in there, Ohtani, Mookie, Freeman, right there. Though after that, then I'm okay. I'm okay. But you got to get past those 3 guys. And David Peterson, he's not a situational left-hander who's going to come in and just get those 3 guys out. And we don't really have a guy like that, a lefty in the bullpen. So that's what I'm worried about in game 1 and really this whole series. So if we can get Kodai to do well, give us 2, 3, maybe even 4 great innings of work, that would be huge. And then as long as he doesn't allow a run, hand the ball off to David Peterson, and let's see what Peterson can do for a few innings. And hopefully a 2 to 3 run lead before I see Edwin Diaz step in this ball game. I want to see him get a little bit more confidence before we see him in a really tight spot, like a 1-run lead or even a tie game. I'm scared of Edwin Diaz right now. I'm sure a lot of Mets fans are as well. But at the end of the day, he did get the job done in game 4 at Citi Field for the Mets to send us to the NLCS. So, we get 50-50, confident, but also scared at the same time. But something you got to be confident in 100% is this Mets lineup. So what you're going to look at today, Jesse Winker, Francisco Lindor. I think those 2 guys in the lineup, I think those 2 guys will be the guys to get the job done. Mark Vientos, definitely a dark horse. He really kills left-handers. Jack Flaherty, the righty-righty matchup, that's going to be good for the Dodgers against Vientos, but still keep an eye on Vientos, and I'd say Alonso a little bit as well, but I would say mainly in that lineup, it's going to be Lindor and Winker if I had to pick 2 guys to get the job done tonight for the Mets. And then rotation-wise, you got to get a good game, just like game 1 against Philly. You want Senga and Peterson to give you length, and then hopefully from there, if you got to go Garrett Reed, and then you got to go Edwin Diaz. But I think that's it. That's it. You don't really want to go too deep into the Mets bullpen because that's where I think the Mets could get exposed in game 1. Really only Stanek, Reed Garrett, and Edwin Diaz. And like I said before, we don't really have that shutdown situational left-hander to come in and mow down those top 3 guys in the Dodgers lineup. So that's where I'm also worried about. But this game starts in 15 minutes. Let's go get this kicked off. Let's go turn it on. Let's go watch the Mets versus the Dodgers game 1. Kodai Senga versus Jack Flaherty tonight. 15 minutes. Lindor, Ohtani, MVP matchup. I'm pumped. We're going to be live right after the game. See you guys soon. Thank you for watching. Let's go Mets.